My name is Shivam Button. Casual Magic is brought to you by Architect, Cool Stuff Inc., and Quiver. Today is really, really cool. It is the first time since Maria and Megan were on that I have more than one person on the podcast with me. And in video, that means it's the first time you guys are seeing a whole square of people. It's going to be weird. Good luck, EK, in editing this. But today, this is really sick. I got the people who are responsible for doing the artwork on all the secret layers. Yes, they hand painted each and every single one of them, and they scrawl on every single envelope hand painted. So that's like 8 million copies that they've made. That's why these cards are available, when you order them, and they sit and they get the little note saying, somebody has ordered a secret layer, and then they sit and hand scroll them out and mail them in those cute little packets. And so today I'm hoping to learn more about why some of these things exist and the thought choices that go into making Rafiq look like a 1920s gangster in like that super sweet Bant frame that came out. Hello, folks. Thank you so much. Can you do me a favor and just introduce yourself? Tom, I guess we should start with you.
Sure. Hi, my name's Tom Gencat. I am what am I? The principal senior creative art director. So my title, that's kind of
That's
like
awesome.
my title. Uh, I work on all the collectability products with these two.
That's cool. Sarah?
Yeah, hi. I'm Sarah Wassel. I'm an art director. I work really closely with Tom, mostly on Booster Fun now, but I did work on Secret Lair for the last 2 years.
Sweet. Jacob?
And I am Jacob Covey, and I'm the newest art director and the kind of sole art director of Secret Lair at this point, having taken over from these two fine people, among others.
It is so cool. I'm so grateful to all three of you for joining me today because I am an unabashed fan now of the Secret Lair project. Like, I'll be honest, when it first was announced and first came out with the Walking Dead stuff, I was hesitant and maybe not the biggest fan in the world because Commander got a lot of backlash randomly because they were like really angry at Wizards for putting out people with guns and magic, but they can't yell at Wizards because nobody is. It's a monolith. So we're going to get mad at Commander, but we can't yell at the rules committee because they're big and scary. So we're going to get mad at the dude who's on the advisory group for Commander, which is me. So I got a lot of people who are very angry about Walking Dead yelling at me, and I'm like 12 steps removed, dude. I don't buy it if you don't like it. It's fine. But since then, though, the product has been so wide and varied and just wild in like all the different treatments and all the different artwork. It's like going through a really cool altruists like deck or something and just seeing like all the different panoply of styles that exist there, and the kind of personalization that you've now opened up for Magic players, especially for folks like me who like to bling out my decks, is the coolest thing in the world. Like, Kaladesh Inventions were, in my opinion, the coolest like frame treatment ever until I saw like the chromatic Elder Dragons or whatever that came out. So
Yeah.
this is super sweet, and I'm super stoked to talk to you guys about this and kind of understand what goes into making a secret layer. Not necessarily like, I understand you guys don't pick the cards, but when they come to you and say like, we need to do a secret layer that's associated with Kamigawa, like, how did you decide who you're going to work with, or reaching out to someone like Junji Ito or the dude who did the Metal Gear Solid artwork, which is so cool? I'm just really curious, like, what is the process that goes into like brainstorming for this?
Well,
Sorry, I
if you don't
realized that was
mind
a
me
lot.
going, yeah, no. It's funny that you say Kaladesh. Those cards were, it's kind of like the first booster fun in a way. A lot of those inventions and stuff like that was a precursor, right? And
Mm,
I think in a lot of ways that transformed into booster fun and secret lair drop. So that was the first there.
yeah.
This team, this group of people actually um, generally kind of comes up with ideas and they pitch ideas.
Oh.
That's where this stuff generally starts. Like, hey, this artist is amazing. Junji Ito would be amazing, but that's a great example. But there's other artists that we're pitching and we're saying this artist could do Merfolk amazing, for instance, and,
Mm.
and we go from there. I know Jacob has been working on pitching a lot of things lately too.
How do you
Yeah, I
find
mean,
these people? Oh yeah, good. No, go ahead, please.
I can speak to it a little bit about how we do it, currently. I mean, we took over from Tom, who kind of trailblazed the whole thing, and Sarah, the two of them have defined everything. So I can just speak to how we took over, because now there's like an official team in place, but these two were doing this, like burning the midnight oil, doing this
Jeez.
as a kind of in the background. But we can get to that a little bit. Why don't you let Tom go ahead and keep talking?
Oh no, well, maybe
So
okay. We could talk about how maybe we did it, and then you can tell us how you do it
Yeah.
now.
Yeah.
It really kind of focused on two kind of avenues. We either started with ideas for the cards, or we started with the artist, and eventually, in the first instance, we would say we have this great idea for a pack of cards. And we'll find the artist. The art might look similar to this. We might have some, artists, a mood board or something that kind of pitch the idea. And then the second one is like literally finding an artist like that could do, merfolk well. I'll just lean onto that example, and we say sometimes it's as simple as that. And in a lot of ways, the process then was kind of letting them do their thing. There's obviously some hard rules, hard guidelines, but we want them to do them, because we're picking artists that you can identify. You can look at their images, and it's them, or they have a really strong voice. If you're not aware of that artist, that you have a really strong voice already. Those were the two main targets as we were pitching things.
So, can I ask then? Let me just give you a specific example so that I think that kind of fits here. There was that really amazing drop called Prime Slime, which was done by Wizard of Barge, which are all
Mhm.
these different like oozes and slimes and things that look hilariously comic and just kind of psychedelic looking, almost like wall poster art that you would get at like a Hot Topic in the 90s. And
Mhm.
it was incredibly like eye-catching and iconic and looked very bizarre for old-timey Magic players like me. So I was like, so was that a case of where you like found the artist and were like, we need to find something for this dude to do? Or was it, I've got a bunch of slimes, who makes slimes well?
It started with the artists in that instance, and I just actually got the story from Dakota from Wizard of Barge on that, and I guess he had a lot of fans in the building, and they were talking to him. They'd show up at his art shows and like, "We love your work," and it took a couple of years till Secret Lair drop was a thing. But once it was a thing, um, they reached out to him, and the contents of the pack, the contents of the cards were kind of informed by his style and what he drew, and in that way, it's just kismet.
Yeah, I mean, it's those are some of my favorites, honestly, just because they look so wild. And there's a counterspell which has the flavor text, which is like the wizard casting Cyclonic Rift and then just going. It's so perfect because stuff that card. That card is garbage. I hate it. Um,
Well, he's
so
a great example, I think, of if I may.
yeah,
Sorry to interrupt.
no,
Um,
please.
that's
Yeah.
that's a great example of like finding an artist who does fantasy work, but not in a traditional formula. And
Mm-hmm.
house magic style is like its own thing, and it's
Yeah,
monolithic, as you say. And so to find what artists are passionate about within fantasy and then let them run with it, I think that's really a huge goal for Secret Lair and opening up the audience.
yeah. I mean, there have been so many just weirdly like I say weird, but I don't mean weird in like the, "Oh, this is off-putting," but as in like, this is so different from what I understand magic to look like. Like the cereal box one that's just came out. That was so cool. It was so neat and like seeing like, the Ulamog back of the cereal box kind of idea or the Mirrodin Insanity ones, which were just like incredibly surrealist looking techno architecture. It's like super weird but super cool. And like I don't know. I mean, there's so many of these that are. I think some of my favorites are like the movie poster ones or the rock
Mm.
posters because those just look unique and rad, and like I want to use them all. Like Thraxamundar opening Sunday.
Yes.
It's like so cool. It's so
The,
metal.
the
Um,
rock posters were really interesting because that was our first kind of hand drawn
mm,
cards, which are when the artist draws all the art and text. One of those was the psychedelic show, and Sarah commissioned all of those.
Hmm.
Ah, can you
Yeah,
tell me about it? How do we get there?
sure. Yeah, so I have a background in graphic design and typography, so and I love weird art. So basically, like, for me, taking on a project like that and pushing it in house and like supporting it and kind of like championing it is a very natural place for me because I'm like, oh yeah, we can make this work. We can get an artist that knows how to do typography and knows how to do illustration and can make it legible or maybe not legible in some cases on purpose.
Mm.
Um, so it's those instances are really fun to push the boundaries and to feel confident to tell other people like, hey, you know what, we can make this happen. We can make something that looks like a poster. Those cards blow my mind too, even like holding them in my hand when they finally come out. I look at the art and then I flip it over and look at the magic back and I'm like, really,
Hmm.
this is like a
It's so cool
playable
though.
card. It's like, yeah, they're pretty exciting.
That reminds me that I want to ask you about Mischief.
Mm.
Mischief and the first card I've ever seen in my life that you can peel the top off of. What the hell? How did you even do that? Like, how do you decide, you know what we're gonna do? We're gonna make the first peelable magic card.
That was all them.
Well,
They were
yeah.
really,
So Mark
yeah.
Hagan is one of the architects, original architects of Secret Lair Drop. I'm pretty sure safe to say it's his baby. It's his idea.
Mm.
And he's a great guy. He's got amazing ideas just all the time. It's kind of enviable. But he's a big fan of Mischief in general, and just reached out to him and called them and worked with them and made sure that this thing happened. But like Sarah said, it was we wanted it to be Mischief. So when I was working with them on this, but it was really just to facilitate, hey, that text is a little too close to the die cut, like let's push vanilla. Like they just needed to do their own thing. And so that was a crazy card, the peel away planes. uh, it was their idea, and we managed to make it work. In fact,
It's
all of those
amazing.
cards have a different unique print treatment, which is very high touch.
Yeah, that
Yeah,
must have
yeah.
been a real challenge just for your printing team to come up with how do we how do we make this work?
Mhm.
Yeah,
Um,
Especially
but
at the scale we print at.
yeah.
Yeah, and that's actually a great thing you hit on is because this whole thing is so collaborative because it is about these artists and their vision, but it's also about the people on staff who facilitate all of this
Oh yeah.
and the print treatment team and like everybody plays this role in making this happen. And I think there is this idea that Secret Lair is like just somebody having a dumb idea or a crazy idea and then it manifests into the world and like it's a thoughtless process or something, but like it's all really passionate and like on down the line of production, everybody is really into it. And that Mischief thing is perfect because
yeah,
it's so holistic. It's such a unique package. And who would ever think of magic cards looking that way?
I've
yeah.
never seen anything like that before. It was so wild to me this thought even existed, that somebody would be like, "Hey, what if we took a planes and then underneath it made a burning golf course that's actually a dual land?" And it's like,
Yeah.
"What? Where do you come
Yeah.
up with that? Like, how do you?"
The the Jacob's dumb idea note is well, we like to think of them as like love letters to our fans, but a lot of times the dumb idea is like there's so many Secret Lair jobs that were born out of jokes. Like somebody
Oh.
joking around and they were like, wait a second. And then we made that thing, and it was beautiful, and it's all coming from like our love of the game, our love of the
Yeah.
brand.
I think about that one secret layer, which is based on pi, right? Like, it was all of the power and toughnesses were
Sure.
3 it was I think it was called, like, the math one or something, where it's like, there's a
Math is for
3-1.
blockers.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
it was just, like, all of them like, I was like, "These are a very disparate array of random ass cards," and then you look and you're like, 3, 1, 4, 1 oh, you jerks, I can't believe this.
So many smarties. So many smarties in the building.
The ones that I really, really enjoyed though, like there was a whole block of them that came out during the Kamigawa era, which were like the Tokyo Land style or the Metal Gear Solid ones. Um, I forget what his artist name is, but they all look like he's the guy who does the Solid Snake artwork. And just like, Kaito's story in that manga style is so cool. They were like such a epic set of cards that fit the cyberpunk vibe of Neon Dynasty so well. And then you've got my friend Ben and took his lands and made them into a secret lair, and that's one of the coolest things I've ever seen. I
Oh,
was
he's your friend?
so yeah. I had a
Nice.
whole set of them as in I had a whole set of his originals, the versions before they became the official secret lair versions that I use in some of my decks as my lands. So I'm
Yeah.
very proud to be able to say I was here before it was cool. But no, I was just like, holy crap. Somebody got promoted, pulled from the community, and turned into a secret lair. And
That's
that's just
happened
like,
several times. So Ben was a perfect example with the Shades Not Included drop. Like just somebody that was already doing this thing, and we're like, "That's really good." And I kind of wanted to swear there, but I didn't. I caught myself.
yeah.
That's really good. And so we hired him to do the thing. There was another Pixel Land artist,
Oh my God, I
Jubilee,
love those so much.
that we found the same way. Oh, and the one that's currently on sale, which might not be on sale by the time this airs, is the Draw Your Hand. Um,
Yes.
that was another one by I have all the
Rope
Secret Lair
Arrow.
drops.
Rope
Okay, there
Arrow,
you go.
yeah.
And that's
The,
just the same thing. Like they're doing it, they love it, and we love what they're doing. So
I think that's amazing. I think that's like one of those kind of like, it feels almost like you're being like, you're getting an award from the top. They've noticed you. Senpai has noticed you, and you get to get printed as a real Magic card. That is such an amazing feeling. And like even vicariously, when I see like community members get pulled into that, it's the greatest feeling in the world. You're just sharing in the success and watching people who do really good things that are doing good things getting rewarded for it. And that feels super cool. Um,
It's really cool. I have to say it's one of my favorite parts of the job is reaching out to somebody who's just toiling away doing their own thing, and then they get this email and they're like, "What do you mean a magic card?" Like they don't know Secret Lair, they
yeah,
don't know what we do, and they're like, "I don't draw magic style." And like
yeah,
one of the fun things is you have to kind of lure out the artist. I bet you've had this experience, Sarah and
yeah.
Tom, but like they try to like be more commercial. They try to be like something that they're not, and you have to kind of coax them out and be like, no, we're serious.
I,
Yeah.
We don't want to water it down. We want
I,
you to
Yeah.
do you. And it's really fun to draw them out, especially the people that don't expect to be contacted because they're just doing their own thing.
Or that so much of the art direction that we do for stuff like this ends up being like, don't try to make a magic card.
mhm.
Like we find an artist that has a really distinctive style that's very, very different from regular magic, and we talk to them, they're excited, we like, bring them in and we're commissioning with them, and then they start sending us sketches and we're like, no, 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 come on. This doesn't look like anything else you
Yeah.
do. Like,
And
don't do us any favors. Do your
in
thing.
all of the emails that I send, it was always, I can't tell you how many times I type 100% in your style. I think it's probably like
Yeah.
every paragraph, just so they get it. Yeah.
Are there any like specifics you can talk about where there was somebody who was doing something and they just were like, yo, we want the thing that you do. We want the airbrush on the wall. We don't want you to try to be fancy pants.
Well, side note, I want everything to be airbrushed, but that's like a whole other thing.
Yeah, well,
Well, I can
um,
say in broad strokes that I've had that happen already where somebody turned it in and I said I wanted it in their style. I pointed the work that they'd done, and they're a fantastic artist, but they still went to their more editorial style. And I'm like, no, not that. And then it clicked, and then they like blew my mind. Like it was like overload in their style, and they
Hmm.
really ran with it. So
that's
it's just a matter of figuring out the barometer to set the artist to.
Yeah. There's
yeah,
also instances where we say we have the artist series line, and a lot of those artists are doing their style, doing their magic style. But in couple instances, they've done the style that's like dearest to them. Like
yeah.
Johannes Voss did like kind of an anime take, and
Oh yeah.
um,
Victor
Livia,
Adame Menges.
yeah, Livia Prima did some amazing art. Like we've never seen that style from her, but it's just gorgeous.
Yeah. And I mean, I love that you let Victor go and do like somebody on a motorbike for the zombie
Oh
lord.
yeah,
And
yeah, yeah.
it was so sick, and it's so weirdly, it's like not magic, but it's still magic because we know what his art looks like, and it just felt really cool. But then there's things like the haute couture one, like if looks could kill, which was so far outside of my understanding of what like magic looks like the reflector mage with the three heads and everything. I'm like, what is going on? This is wild.
God, Jack Hughes is
Yeah.
so talented. we signed him up for that Secret Lair drop and then started using him everywhere else. So like I know Sarah used him a lot for
So
SNC.
much. Yeah, I used him for Streets of New Capenna, and then there are some really cool things that he's done that I can't talk about yet. But I really he's got such an interesting art style that's so distinctive, I think.
Yes.
But what's really interesting about it is if you look especially at the stuff he did for Streets of New Capenna, like he can do figures really well. He did this Falco Spera piece that's, you know,
That's a good
this
one.
man in a really natty, like perfectly tailored suit, but he has like this avian head and it's beautifully done. So he can do creatures, he can do humans. He's really talented.
Yeah, Falco Sparrow was a cool card. Um, man, the artwork in New Capenna was so good. Just like randomly out of nowhere, like I didn't particularly like the way the set played, but holy crap, was it beautiful! And I loved the raised showcase frames, like the ones that felt kind of embossed and stuff. Super sick.
That was
Um,
one of the first times the print treatments like really like merged perfectly well with the art. I
oh,
thought like we did a bunch of those, but like Neo Kamigawa had the neon ink Hitotsuku, but
so
I
good.
love this Streets of New Capenna frame with that embossed, and it just worked perfectly with all the art Sarah commissioned.
Yeah,
Um,
I think you guys have been nailing it on the weird frame treatments lately. Just it's been really cool, especially as I like to see like my Magic cards to look like a panoply of everything. So it's really neat to see this whole kind of all these different explorations, like the the 30th anniversary countdown, the what do they call those, advent calendar for Magic,
Mm-hmm.
where each and every single one of them was like a different artist and from the whole like era of Secret Lairs. That was really cleverly done and really interesting and fun to like explore through, because it's like, oh look, it's a necropotent done like the rock poster style, you know.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I
That,
think these are just really cool.
that was so fun. Sarah and I did pretty much 50-50 on that. And
mhm.
it came, so that was an instance where the cards started first, like let's pick a card from each year, right?
Mm.
And then it was so quick. I don't know if you remember how quick that came together,
No,
but
I remember.
was it like a month and a half from like
It was,
idea
yeah.
to like
Mhm,
final art? And then
Whoa, what?
we even had like an emergency in there, something,
mhm.
and it killed it. It's honestly it's my favorite thing that we've done. Maybe it's because it's 30 plus cards, but whatever.
Yeah.
No,
I
it was
just have
so fun.
to interject. You guys blow my mind. It blows my mind how much you guys were doing. How much you guys hit your stride so hard by the end, like where I'm taking the things over, and you're still making stuff actually. But like, how did you do? I don't think people can appreciate it because this Secret Lair was a back burner thing for the most part. It was like people getting to it as they could, and for that advent calendar, which is amazing,
Amazing.
to be like done in a month and a half, that's just crazy.
Well, we sit back to back in the office,
Thanks, Jacob.
so there's a lot of like weird over the shoulder.
When we're not sassing each other, we're being creative together. But I think the percentages are more sass than creative.
Yeah, I would agree. But thanks, Jacob.
I'd buy that.
So can I ask if you can you tell me any Secret Lair that you guys picked the cards first and then went out to find an artist?
Ooh, I'm
Yeah.
interested in that.
Because I'd be interested in learning the process of how do you even pick cards for this.
Well, I have them all up here. I'm just scrolling through.
There are a lot of Secret Lairs to scroll through.
Well,
Well,
I've never.
so
I can speak while. Oh, okay. Well,
go ahead,
while
Jacob.
while Tom's looking, I can just say that from my experience, the cards are selected by Zakiel Gordon traditionally, and now by Daniel Nguyen. And so they're actually like card experts. They're walking encyclopedias of
Mm.
cards.
Mhm.
And so, I know on my team, our team, there's a few of us who concept what card ideas or artists we want to work with, and then Daniel helps us like have everything click into place
Mhm.
through his card selections. Like, because we have an idea, but we don't. He's like, "Oh, you want paragliding cats? Well, this is the perfect card for you because
Right.
there's a cat that flies and blah blah blah."
They also do a lot of heavy lifting to make sure that there's no collisions. Like like if that card's coming out in a a main set or a
Mm,
remastered set or something, and then Secret Lair drop, like they try to keep all that stuff off of each other, and it's amazing how their brains work, honestly, sometimes.
y- yeah, because I mean, just like I'm just looking at some of these sets that I'm scrolling through this, like the Scryfall list, which it just seems like it goes forever. By the way, Bob Ross, holy crap, what a get! Oh my god! Like as a person who grew up on PBS and grew up on Bob Ross and watched all those paintings and tried to do it at home, being able to have a full land set of Bob Ross land is the greatest thing in the world. I
How about
just,
that Evolving Wilds, by the way?
oh my
So
god!
so like so that was that was me before I knew better. So I'm like, hey, let's do a Bob Ross thing. And so I just like emailed Bob Ross estate and I like set that all up. That's not how it works. That's not how it works at all. How it shouldn't have worked that way. It definitely doesn't work now. But like just getting piles and piles of like his art, high res art, and like picking which one works best
It's
and
so
trying to figure
cool.
out the frame. It was really fun. Yeah.
That is unbelievably cool. Like when the Secret Lair idea first came out, and I was like, "You better get me a Bob Ross mountain," and now I have a Bob Ross mountain, and it's the coolest goddamn thing in the world. And I'm just like, "What?" Oh,
But that Evolving Wilds was crazy because it has like island and like mountain, and it has like at least four of
yeah.
like the lands, and then it has this strange like green underlighting to one of the tidal waves.
It's
It doesn't even
gorgeous.
read like a Bob Ross painting, but it's perfect for
It
Evolving Wilds.
it's so pretty. You know what one of my favorite what you know what's actually sold me on the whole idea of Secret Lairs was Alana Danner's, Snow-Covered Lands. Like, that was,
Hmm.
like, I think one of the first ones that came out, and they were so beautiful, and this was before Kaldheim, so we didn't have snow-covered lands except for the ones from, like, Cold Snap or Ice Age or whatever, and I was like, "Oh my god, I need to get, like, 50 of these because these are gonna be my
Hmm.
forever lands," and then, of course, Kaldheim came out. We thanks, guys.
Oh,
But
Foreverlands.
but they're beautiful, and I was like,
That's
"Oh, this is where the potential is. This is what, like, I actually want out of this," and then, like, Justine Jones's The Triplicate of the Kaleidoscope Killers. So good. I
Yeah,
bought it and
he's
nobody
so
else did, and now
talented.
those things are worth like $1 billion, so it's just y'all shouldn't have slept on those. Um,
I have
and
$1 billion underneath my stairs right now. Is that what you're
I
telling
mean,
me?
you've got magic cards. They're growing. They stuff your pillows with them. Your curtains are made of magic cards. I know you guys eat them with cereal. It was really cool to see my friend Jason Engel get to do the Theros Star Gods because
Oh,
like I love his artwork and it's really rad. And just seeing the whole like all of them looking like the constellations was so beautiful. Like
I I agree, and I thought we were going to uh, like destroy him with all those commissions. It was like 30 commissions in a few months, but he was all for it. He wanted to do them all. It was the right decision, and they're gorgeous. They
Yeah,
are.
he's rad, and I l anytime he gets work makes me happy. I love his artwork so much. Like, as an old-time Dragonlance fan, he used to do the artwork for the 3.5 books that I used to write. So, like,
Oh,
I've known him for, like, 20 years, and so it's cool to see him in my other hobby.
oh, you used to write Dragonlance books.
Well, I did the Dragonlance role-playing game stuff for, 3.5 edition under Margaret Weiss, and
Oh,
then I helped her write the new novel that just came out. Yeah.
awesome. Let's make this podcast about you. That's really
Yeah,
interesting.
that's like nobody needs there's 160 episodes of me if they really want.
Oh,
No,
gotcha,
I'm
gotcha.
the world's number one Dragonlance fan. I'm like the canon coordinator and like the repository of all lore there is to at one point I had a full collection of every Dragonlance product ever printed in any language. And then my wife was like, "We have 350 books in Polish. That's not okay anymore." And I'm like,
I'm sorry. That's
"Fair."
hilarious.
Fair. So I kept one and I got rid of all the rest of them. And she's like, "You don't need 15 copies of Chronicles of Autumn Twilight." And I'm like, I do. And
You
she's like,
kind of
"No,
do
no, you
though.
don't." And she's like, "Look, you got magic and you got Dragonlance. You can't have everything of everything." And I'm like, "Fine." So, yeah. Uh, can I talk about one of the weirdest sets of Secret Lairs you guys have done? There was the Path Not Traveled, which was like alternate universe cosplaying planeswalkers. You know, like Vraska is like the beauty queen, and Domri Raid is this cowboy on top of this boar, and like a Johnny isn't a superhero or something. What? What is going on? How did this even happen? Um,
Yeah. Well, I think it was probably born from this idea of like everyday life for our planeswalkers, right? And so that's still a little fantastical, but I always like the idea of like Garuk, like on a subway, like, you know, scrolling on his phone or something like that. Like that is charming to me. And I think we needed to go a little more fantastical. And I think that's where that one came
Yeah, because like I saw that, and some of my friends who were cosplayers and stuff were like, "This is the coolest thing I've ever seen," and some people were like, "This is maybe a step farther than I would like to go," because it's kind of weird to see Vraska dressing like she's going out of the Back to the Future dance or whatever. Um,
Mike
but
Uziel killed that card by the way. I love that guy's art.
yeah, it's amazing. Of course, the thing is, then you guys just recently put out the City Styles one, which is
Mm,
which looks like drawings out of a fashion like magazine, or like when you see like, fashion designers drawing out like the hand drawn versions of dresses or whatever. This is the kind of art it looks like, and it's stunning. Sakashima staring down over Tokyo is just one of the coolest things ever. Um, I feel like this
yeah.
is becoming a lot of me just telling you how cool you are, and I'm not sure how good that is for radio.
No, just
Well,
just spread it out. Just like go clockwise and tell us why we're all cool, and then we'll make something up for you for the Dragonlance Master of the World. Um,
Nobody needs
well,
to
it,
hear that.
it 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 does touch on, the different types of secret layers that have come to be standard, which is, I was talking earlier specifically about, approaching artists, and it's sort of artist first choices, and then there's sort of conceptual ideas where, like
Mm,
editorial fashion, and it's like, how do you just make it more interesting? And like Tom said, is like, you kind of go down these roads of fantasizing about what do planeswalkers do when they're not planeswalking. You're like, what do they do in their free time? And what if they were in fashion magazines? And so like there's just, tease out these ideas for these more conceptual ideas. And then there's the partnerships, which, are just kind of like interesting, to see, what does Post Malone do in the Magic universe,
I was
or,
just about to ask about that, because like some of those artworks behind his artwork are like gorgeous, and then you see Posey drawing happy faces, and I'm like, oh, it's so okay. Well, they still look cute, and I guess he gets to have those. There was a set that was called Totally Spaced Out, which
mhm,
I think was related to the onsets or something like that because of kind of the spacey theme.
correct.
Um, but they have 4 different artists, so this might be one of those ones where you guys actually came with cards first and then tried to find people. Is that
Uh,
correct?
yeah, totally. And we had the concept too. Like, so Dawn Mirren, a fabulous AD, has done a lot of amazing work, and she's been with Wizards and TSR before that for like
Mm,
so long. What is she? What was her? It's over 25 years, right?
yeah.
Probably, yeah.
So anyway, she's a master AD, and she's done all of the unsets as far as I know, at least the last 3 or 4. And she did such an amazing job with those, and hired those artists. I forget all of them. It was Bruce Bennessy, and anyways, and honestly, it was just let's do more of the amazing stuff that Don did, and we hired the same artist that did the amazing thing to do the amazing thing again. And more is not always better. It was better in this instance.
Mm. Um, one thing I do like is that you guys have taken the time to bring back a lot of classic artists from the history of Magic to be able to do secret layers and stuff. Like I know Dan Fraser got to do all those cool signets, and then you had like was it Mark Poole to come back to do like the counter spells and stuff like that? Or was that Mark Tadine? I don't remember, one of the Marks.
Yeah, it
Um,
was Mark Poole.
yeah,
We did his artist series was kind of half half, like old cards and new cards, and his the old cards like the Counterspell and the Howling Mine and I forget the third
Birds of
one. Oh,
Paradise.
Island. Oh, and then Island too was part of us working out a deal with him on some of the early art was is royalty based. So
Ah,
we got some of that back into the fold, and we had him do some new things as well. And so that was a kind of unique artist series. It's really cool.
Yeah, it was really cool just because, like, I grew up on his artwork and seeing it again is just like, "Oh, that's a nostalgic hit." Um, can you talk about the ones you've done for the oh, what is it? The Extra Life, like the sick kids who get to draw their own artwork, and then you get like Magali to turn it into something amazing. Like, is that like was the process on being able to have like real magic artists take these children's artworks like a complicated one? Did you have any weird like pushback from people saying like, this is strange?
Oh, yeah, not too much of that.
Because I thought it
But
was
there, but
adorable.
but this is one of those things like a good idea can come from anywhere. I don't remember her name, but she was the producer at the time and suggested this, and it was just perfect. Um, yeah, it was kind of it was also during I think the challenging thing about that was honestly it was just during COVID, so there was a lot
Oh,
of like games of telephone and emails and parents and like what is this and signing contracts strangely and but the results were so charming that and all the magic artists uh, you know uh, reworking reimagining the children artists work were so into it too. A lot of them uh, uh, sold their paintings and donated back to Seattle
oh, that's
Children's
adorable.
and
And then like getting Frank Frazetta art on Magic cards is like one of those things that 15-year-old me would have died about, and like 40-year-old me is like, hell yeah, let's go. So that's really cool. I didn't think that was something that would ever happen, but I'm really glad it did. Uh,
that was similar to the Bob
well,
Ross, where
you
I didn't
just
know better, so I
you
just
just
started
cold called him.
emailing, and I worked with Sarah Frazetta uh, on that. She leads up the Frazetta Girls company estate that works on all of the art, and she's great. She's amazing, and that was also just fun. That was like it's a different bag, right? Assigning just like Bob Ross assigning artwork to pre-existing cards, but a little more difficult here because it's not just landscapes like Bob Ross.
Yeah,
So
and some of Frazetta's artwork is, let's say, not appropriate perhaps for Magic's needs.
that's an understatement.
It is very powerful. Maybe
Look,
too powerful.
they they looked really cool when I was a kid, is all I'm saying.
You said this
Um,
was a family show, but
can you tell me what was the most complicated secret layer to work on? In
let's go
terms of
around
like,
the horn on this. I feel like I've been talking a lot.
yeah,
Hmm.
that you can talk about, I guess.
Yeah.
For me, it's the psychedelic Welcome to the Fungal. That
Oh, that
drop
was
was
so cool.
that drop was a lot of work for me and the artists. There's a few people who had never really done commercial art before, and they did so much amazing work and they worked so hard, but it was really like, it's one thing to be a tattoo artist and it's another thing to kind of translate that drawing style into like, incorporating typography and worrying about bleeds and printing like,
Yeah,
specifications and stuff. So that drop in particular for me was a labor of love. It was worth every second of the work, definitely. But
that's one of my favorite ones, honestly, just because it's got some of my favorite cards ever in it. And also, they all look so like I want to put a black light over them. I want them to glow. It looks super cool.
We wanted them to be like felted posters. Is that what they
Oh,
call
that
them?
would
Or
have been
flocked? Flocked.
flocked, yeah, flocking.
Flocked.
oh my
Yeah,
god, that
yeah,
would
So
have
yeah.
been cool.
the Slimefoot card is a physical painting,
What?
and that artist Tripper Dungan, he lives in Portland. He's an amazing artist. That card, the painting is three-dimensional.
What?
He sent it to the office for us to scan because a lot of times artists will send it
Yeah.
into us so we can do that. And he sent it with 3D glasses.
How do you
And I
scan through
he
3D glasses?
well, yeah, it didn't work when you scanned it because the colors have to be so specifically correct to vibrate off of each other to make that effect.
Hmm,
So I got to run around the office with the glasses, grabbing anyone I could find to be like, "You have to come look at this. This is the most
that's
amazing thing ever."
amazing.
Yeah, and but just the talent of that person, of Tripper, to be able to know color well enough to pull that off with paintbrushes.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
That card looks so cool too. Just I love the hand drawn ones just because I love the font. I'm like a big font
Mm,
nerd, and watching these
mm.
kind of like the Michaeloth in that one just blowing up out of it, and you have to kind of squint to be able to read it. But it's like just oozy and goopy, and it's so flavorful in terms of the way the cards are done. So I don't know. I just really enjoy seeing that kind of like creativity come through. The cereal, the stupid Just Add Milk one, I love them so much.
So
They
that one
just
was a lot of Mike Burns. So I think what what we did in the office was, well, we had the idea, and the biggest part is we had to crack that double-sided card because they're not
yeah.
DFCs, and so that was like lots of conversations with the rules manager and kind of brainstorming on some things. But honestly, it was like, hey, Mike, we have an idea for the front, but the back's going to have a game. And Mike went crazy, and he
They're
added in
so
all
good.
sorts of details and made all the games. And he's amazing.
I got to meet him in Philly, and it was just like I was like, dude, you've blown my mind with these. They're so cool. And then he gave me a coloring sheet for my kid, and that was really nice.
Oh,
Um, I should show you. My son
It's fun
drew a
too.
picture of. Hmm?
Oh, it's fun too with Mike Burns because it's such a unique opportunity for that style from him because
Yeah,
he also has like wildly different styles, and
Mhm.
so to see him run with that unique style was really cool.
I love that Saturday morning cartoon look. It's just super wild. It's like look, before you guys started doing secret layers en masse, I was one of those people who like to use like have my friends who are artists make cool proxies of or like altars of artwork and just do cool paintings. I've got a whole collection of really like beautiful hand painted artwork from all these talented people. And so it's just so cool to see these styles and these different understandings and appreciations of way to interpret a card showing up on here. And like um Tyler Jacobson, was he the one who did the D&D one? Or was it the other Tyler? But,
Tyler
Walpole.
Walpole.
Yeah,
mm-hmm.
Tyler Walpole doing the D&D, like, looking like the original D&D cartoon. I wish that Tiamat had been one of his cards, and I'm really disappointed it wasn't.
Yeah, uh, that was also the before times, just watching every D&D episode. I actually worked with Chris Perkins a little bit on some of those concepts too. So straight from the heart there, straight from the core of D&D lore. So
Yeah, do you guys decide which one's gonna be the bonus card, or how does that even work?
if it's bespoke, well, actually, Jacob could probably speak to that one best.
Yeah, well, I don't know if best, but I can. That's something I actually know about here. Um, yeah, so the secret card, for those who don't know, some secret lair drops come with a secret card that's unannounced. And sometimes it's just a bonus card for fun, and sometimes it's part of a gag, and sometimes it's just, extra fun from
Mm.
the artist that you're buying. But, my favorite type of secret card is the one that's kind of a payoff to a joke. And I can't think of one offhand for that you all did. If you can think of it, then you should speak to that for sure, because it's kind of fun when there's sort of a little joke element. And I know that we've done that with a couple of our concepts.
The
And I
Fibble
should
tip
say
one.
that,
Go ahead.
okay, yeah, no, talk about that for sure.
The Fibble tip one, the secret card there was bespoke, which just means that we made it to fit the pack instead of
Oh.
kind of random. So it's a search and find. You're looking for Fibbletip, and then the secret card is you found him. There he is in the lost and found.
Yes.
Yes, I love that. The Fibblethip artwork, by the way, the huge panorama is amazing. Like I was about to say so cool again. I didn't want to repeat myself, but I have a deck box that has that whole artwork like on all six sides. It's stunning. Um, and then I got to see the full painting at Philly, and that was incredible. Like I was like, somebody actually drew this by hand. That's bananas. Like that thing
It
is
is digital, so that was a print. But
somebody still had to do it.
oh yeah, no, I'm not diminishing it. I just wanted to seeing that the process come in, like it's just so much detail. Like the file size was actually so big that she had to flatten it a few times to like so it wasn't as ornery as it could be. And there, I fit it in. I promised myself I was going to fit in the word ornery.
I was impressed. I liked
I
it.
did it.
It wasn't until you mentioned that you did it on purpose.
Hey,
It's okay. We
Oh,
appreciate those things. Um, yeah, but it's just like you have to do that, like obviously digitally, because then you can actually zoom in and fill in the little characters falling out the windows or whatever. Um, you know what my favorite Secret Lair is? It's one that
mm,
you probably aren't going to expect, but it was the Matt Jukes Dual Lands.
mm,
The Matt Jukes hyper minimalist, like Rootbound Crag and all of those ones that they have just like splashes of color that are kind of just layered transparently over each other. Because when I was a kid and I would go to the dentist's office, they would have these kind of weird abstract artworks just like that. And
mm.
that style just really appeals to me as like
So it was dentist artwork, dentist waiting room artwork.
kind of, yeah, but it's
mm,
got this hyper minimalist calming vibe to it. And it's the sort of thing I haven't seen since the 80s.
Yeah.
And I love it. I love it a lot. And I would like the other half of that cycle. So that because I hate having incomplete cycles.
Well, you're talking to Jacob right now. He's the one that
I'm just saying, dude,
might make
5
that
more of
happen.
those. Make it happen. Like, I
right.
wish those had
Noted.
been on more playable dual lands, but I just love that they exist so much. Like, they're so
But see, you
beautiful.
keep talking about like unlikely ones that you like, and that's what I love about all of this is like
Yeah.
every secret lair, you're not meant to like every secret lair.
That's the
And
truth.
you know, it speaks to a different audience every time and pulls in, you know, it's really cool that it can resonate with you, and then maybe it doesn't resonate with me, or it doesn't resonate with whoever. And one of the best parts of Secret Lair is, yeah, it's a little controversial at times if you're looking at it as like if you're looking at it as if it's all for you. And the beauty is it's for everybody, and so you know it's
Hmm.
going to appeal to different audiences for each thing. And I really love that. I that's personally one of the things that drew me to Secret Lair is how community minded it
Mm,
is. You know, because like Magic at its core is really a community based game and
Hmm.
yeah.
about that interaction. And so I just like this whole next level kind of meta thing of building community into community.
I
I
love that you
mean,
said that, Jacob. Like, because especially the part about how everything isn't for everybody. But I when I see something, I'm just happy it exists because I know somebody's gonna love it.
mm,
And that's yeah, I totally agree.
yeah, because like for instance, there was the tattoo artist series that you did early on, and that didn't appeal to me because I'm not really a big fan of American style tattoos. But one of my friends loved it so much that they actually got the tattoo from the
Amazing.
Yes.
card on their
Yes.
body because they're like, "This is it. This is exactly what I want." And I'm like, "That this is what's made for you. It wasn't made for me, but
Yeah.
at least somebody
Yeah.
exists who loves this." And I'm like, "All right, now I understand Secret Layers. Like I
So many
get it now."
Yeah.
times so many times we'll be working on a project and we'll come up with like the art style or like the match up to the subject matter, and I just in my head I'm thinking, "Oh, we're just making flash art for people." And I'm really okay with that.
It's just I don't know. It's like there's always going to be ones that don't appeal to me, and then there's ones that are just like this was specifically made from like the original Elder Dragons done in that Dominaria stained glass style. That's for me because I love the original Elder Dragon. That's what got me into Magic in the first place. Um, but there were other people who are like, "Why are there $3 cards in these secret layers?" I'm like, "Shut up, man! They look cool. Like it's
That
fine. It's okay for
that
things to look
chrome
good."
dragon was a really hard one to commission because a chrome dragon done in stained glass style,
Oh
that was
my god!
really challenging.
But it's so pretty. It's so pretty.
Yeah.
Oh my god, I love that one so much. My editor's gonna have a lot of fun just putting these cards in. We've talked about so
Oh
many
yeah.
cards. Um, but you know what? As we guys are kind of like coming to a close here, I was wondering if you could tell me what your favorite secret layers were, or what was the one that you were the most excited to see completed? Mhm, mhm, mhm.
Sure. Anybody? Any takers?
Anybody?
Yeah. Um, the first that I worked on was Serum Visions, and I was really, really excited about that. I still think that's some of the most beautiful Secret Lair art we've put out.
You did two of those, right?
Yeah, I worked with oh, I can't remember which of the two artists that I worked with out of the set of four, but I love that art so much. The pieces are so weird and so beautiful and so street art and such a strong departure from Magic. And that was really early on in Secret Lair too. So for
Yeah, it
me,
was like,
that was like the cry to like
mm,
follow after.
God,
Nice.
when that means that, so Sarah was working on Secret Lair Drop before Jacob or I then,
yeah,
because I
because I
was
was like in the
hired on.
first batch.
Yeah,
Mm, mm. You're
We're-
the OG.
No,
yeah.
no, I can't compete. Okay, first of all, it's not a competition. But Tom, Tom, Tom was a machine for like 2 years. Just like every Secret Lair, like 95% of the Secret Lair cards that came out, he was the one that commissioned them. It
Now I'm
just,
Wow.
resting on my laurels.
yeah, yeah, you're not doing
I
anything.
haven't put in an honest day work for months.
Such a lie.
So lazy. I'll go next, so Tom can go last.
Yeah.
Because I always want him last. Headliner. We already touched on Mischief, and Mischief is kind of my favorite just because my design background and because I think it's just, again, just such a complete package and cool. And I love that we might be talking about the cards and people still are like, wait, what are you talking about? And they're running to their Mischief cards and realizing they can peel the top off of one of them. But
It's
as a
so weird.
teaser, I guess, because obviously stuff I'm working on is going to be among my favorite, because it's personal. But as a teaser, the first project that I got to work on was something where there was a hole. I perceived a hole, and I decided, and Mark Hagan let me run with an idea of like, how do you make a holiday drop card that isn't just like elves playing in the snow or something? Like, how do you make something that you can put on
Hmm.
the site and like somebody can buy a holiday themed drop for their friends, for a loved one who's really into magic, and maybe they don't know anything about magic, and you want something that like speaks to them. And so I can only say that was the sort of mental exercise that went into the first drop that I conceived of, and I'm really proud of it. And it's going to be controversial, I think, to some extent, because it's very non-figural. But it has like this real, to me, it brings a lot of joy to me to think of somebody coming onto the site and being like, that looks very holiday-y, and yet it's also something that you can sit with for a really long time and get a story out of. And you'll just have to wait to see what I mean by that, I
And
guess.
why are you telling me this
But
at the end of the show? This is
Yeah,
the story
yeah,
I
I
want.
love it. I love it.
yeah.
And we've seen it. We've seen Jacob's work, so we're all in know except for you.
Oh,
Just going
It
ahead
happened.
and
Not the first time. I've talked
Merry
to Watsy
Christmas.
before, I know.
point
But
out.
I don't know. See, that's the kind of thing that I love to hear. I want to know what makes you guys impassioned enough to want to get somebody to draw it, right? Like, because you guys have to conceive of this artwork. You have to come up with this idea and say, like, hey, I want you to go and I want you to make like a squirrel flying out of a shotgun and make it look cool or something or whatever. And it's fantastic to me. I love seeing that stuff. Oh, I forgot
Well,
to
and
ask.
the answer is what
Oh,
brings
yeah.
joy,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
really, this is like Mark Hagan, he talks about, I don't remember the term he uses, but I mean, really, the Secret Lair is about joy. It's about bringing, some sense of happiness to somebody, whether
Mm.
it's just, even if it's like a brutal card, it's like we're hitting a brutal audience, somebody that doesn't see, the card that they want, and then here's the card they want. And sometimes it's just working with artists who are like, who have toiled away, like mastering one thing that they do really, really well. And you're like, that needs to be seen in a bigger audience. And so you bring it to a bigger audience. And, it's not going to be the best selling Secret Lair, but it's going to speak to somebody that we don't get to speak to all the time. And as somebody that stood on the fringes a lot, personally, like magic always spoke to me, but like I wasn't the biggest fantasy art person per se. I was really into, more, comic art and gig posters and this kind of thing. And that was like my community, but I wanted to be in on magic more.
Mm.
And so like, it's really cool to me that now we can put things out and we can kind of pull people in and say, no, magic really is for everybody. Like we're not kidding. We do this because
Yeah.
we love it. And we love these sort of subcultures and communities because we all have friends in those communities, and they're just not part of our magic community yet.
Like, I know a bunch of furries who were looking at some of the art that came out for like various Pride arts or like the Jumpstart extra arts, and were like, "Holy crap! I did not expect this half of my world to intersect with that half of my world." Or like famous gay artists who do the Pride Across the Multiverse ones, and just like
Yeah.
it's incredible to see this kind of crossover. I think that you guys have done a stellar job of putting out. I mean, I'm not going to say every one of them is my favorite, but I'm just saying that they've all been interesting to look at. Like,
Yeah.
I'm think. Can you explain a little bit about how you got like 300 different persistent petitioner artworks, like those weird bonus cards? I mean, they show up and they show up randomly, like after you got the stained glass walkers or whatever, and there was just like a bunch of the extra, super extra bonus cards, and every one of them I've seen has been different artwork, which is
Well, I
just
don't.
insane.
Well, there's only how
I
many
think,
are out there?
7?
or like the Shadowborn
There's
Apostles, there were like six
six.
of those
There's six of them right now. But
right now. I love that idea of taking these cards that say you can have any number of them and then making individual bespoke crazy versions of them. That appeals to me as a person, and I hate every part of it as a collector, but but I love the idea. And the blueprints, oh my god, I love the blueprints so
hmm
much. Like, I've been trying to get a stupid blueprint version of the Rogues Passage for the longest time, but I love them. I love that idea, and I love the echo of it we saw in the Urza set that just came out with the Brothers War, with all the schematic version of the artifacts in the bonus sheet.
hmm
So it was really cool to see that kind of like echo forward through into this main set kind of practice.
Yeah,
But
that Cosmin did some of those cards with Sarah for Brothers War, right?
Yeah, he does
Yeah.
the planeswalkers.
Cosmin
this,
did all the Secret Lair secret cards.
they
Mhm.
look
Yeah.
beautiful. You didn't tell me what was your favorite one, Tom.
Yeah, Tom.
I thought I was going to get away without being cornered. Uh, it's really hard to pick one. Um, so I'll just go fast. So first of all, I never thought in a million years I'd get Junji Ito to do some cards. So that was just
Yes.
awesome to see that. We specifically picked all black cards, had him do black and white, so it was just totally manga. Um, and I think picking the 30th anniversary is probably a cheat because it's just so many of them.
Mm,
But something similar to that project was the Heads I Win,
Mhm.
Tails You Lose. Did I get
yes.
that right? The Commander deck. I personally like working in a pressure cooker. So similar to the 30th anniversary, there was zero time for that. And I think that was actually the first one we cracked the double-sided card thing because of the
Yeah, because you had to.
duality of the coin flipping. So
Yeah,
the theme was on target. The cards were given to us because Gavin had designed that deck, Gavin
yeah,
Verhey, and just figuring out that double side, the duality, the calm versus the angry, angsty sides, and all the artists did an amazing job. That might be my favorite one, but honestly, my favorite one hasn't come out yet. So that's my really quick answer. No room for you to ask me questions. Answer.
sure. Um, the Pixel Snowlands were amazing. I would love to see more like that. Um, but you know what? I could literally go card for card through the entire Secret Lair and say, I loved this, because that's kind of just what my other podcast is called Shivam and Wheeler Love Magic, where me and my friend Ben Wheeler sit and actually go through, we take one set in every episode and then talk about every card in it, like basically like two old guys in the back of an LGS who just love this stuff. So we spent like 4 hours talking about Champions of Kamigawa Legends. That's so I could literally go through every single card in the Secret Layers and be like, oh my god, I can't believe, like the Far Out Man, the counterspell where the lady's got her head turned and just swashing. So good.
Yeah.
But you know what, though? I'm going to let you guys go because this has been amazing. Thank you so much for joining me. I really, really appreciate this.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah,
Thank you,
it's been
Shivam.
it's been really fun. Thank you so much.
I mean,
And you're amazing. If we're gonna use that word, you deserve one.
I'm just a dude. Um, but this is normally where I would tell people to find your Twitters or whatever, but you guys are artists. They don't need to bother you. Go and buy a Secret Lair if you want to know what these people do. It's fine. Um, or buy a Magic card. You're all art directors. You've art directed normal Magic cards too. Thank you for, by the way, making like all of my random commanders into like cool secret layers. It just works out very well for me that like I get to have blingy versions of my personal pet decks. I would really like a Grimgrin if you guys are taking requests. There's only been one
Okay.
printing of it, and I need a fancy version.
Okay.
But
Noted.
anyways, as always, my friends, you can find me at Girapuri Gears, or you can find this show at anywhere podcasts are sold, or at YouTube on Tuesdays, or at Cool Stuff Inc. on Tuesdays. And thank you to my editor, EK. And remember, my friends, it is not magic without the gathering, and we will see you next time.